Well, hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Unlocked Show. I'm your host, Tracy Wilson, on this beautiful Friday here on the Gold Coast. I always tell you guys what the weather's like here. It's a beautiful day today. I don't know why I do that, but I get to look outside my office window and I either see a cloudy, dreary day or an absolutely beautiful blue sky day, which today absolutely is. So after the podcast today, I'm going to be, or live show, I'm going to be heading out and doing a little bit of work on a little project that my husband and I have are working on together. I'll tell you a little bit more about that at a later date. But today's show is all about the podcasting and live show formats. Now, in my view, there's like 6 of these top live show and podcasting formats. And I want to uncover today what those 6 are. Why? So that you can make a decision and you can determine which one of those is right for you. And I want to encourage you to find your voice and to actually start podcasting. Start, either podcasting or doing your own live show. If you're a little bit scared of camera, then, you can hide behind just your microphone by doing a podcast. And I want to say that this morning I was speaking with one of my students and also a business partner of mine. And we were talking about the fact that he had started his podcast. I think he's up to almost 100 episodes. And he was talking about the fact that he had gone back and watched some of his live shows and listened to his podcast in the early days. And he was like, oh my God, I have grown so much and I've learned so much and I've developed so much over those 100 episodes. So, and I was like, yep, totally. One of the major benefits of doing a podcast and or your own live show is the amount of personal growth that you get. And I can assure you, if you go back and look at some of my live shows and my podcasts in the early days, you'll go, oh yeah, you've certainly grown. So in saying that, I want to encourage everybody to find their voice and to actually speak about what it is that, you've got some expertise, some knowledge, or even just an opinion about. Get out there and start talking about it, because by you creating some, good quality conversation and adding value to people's lives, you are going to start making a real difference to people, not just in your local community, but all over the world. So that being said, let's get stuck in and let's start talking about what are these 6 different types of live show and podcasting formats. And what I'm going to say is that as I go through these, all 6 of these are relevant for whether you're doing a live type broadcasted show like I do, and or if you do the recorded versions. So it doesn't really matter. These are relevant for both. One of the things that I would also say before I do get stuck into these 6 things or 6 different formats is that one of the questions I had this morning too was, when I'm doing my podcast and my live show, I'm always thinking about, am I actually driving for engagement on my live show, or am I trying to get viewership up with downloads, etc., after the fact? And I just want to offer, I suppose, a different angle or different way of looking at creating either a live show or a podcast. And to be honest, I don't actually look at either of those things quite like I had just explained. I actually look at it from a point of view of one, about me as the host and as the content producer, of actually growing myself, improving my level of communication, etc., confidence, and all of those sorts of things. And then secondly, that I'm adding value by creating content. So that is my main driver. And if I get people that join me live, that is fantastic, because I do get people that join live. And then secondly, I get a whole lot of people after the fact that actually download the podcast, and listen to the replays. And that's really what I'm looking at, is I'm creating what I call evergreen content that enables me to create content once, but I can use it over and over and over again, and I can continue to add value. For me personally, creating a show that I do a lot of, if my focus was on engagement in the live show, then I would be asking a lot of questions and talking to people, live that come through in the comments. And I do a little bit of that, but I try not to do too too much of it. And the reason I don't do that is because I want to make sure that it's still relevant for people who are actually listening on the replay. It can be a little bit frustrating when you're listening to a replay and the host is actually talking to somebody personally in the side chat. So just something that's just my 2 cents worth in the way that I prefer to do it. So let's get kicked in and let's start looking at these 6 different types of live show and podcasting format. Well, the very first format is what I call the monologue. Now, this is a great style of format that you could, you might decide that you want to use. If you're an expert and you want to share information about your expertise, your experience, and you share your knowledge in a monologue style, that particular, style of podcasting is going to be great for you. And this is kind of what I'm doing today, right? I'm here. It's one person generally, and I'm giving a point of view. So my point of view on various different things. And you'll also find that a lot of comedians and actors will use or create monologue style, either shows or podcasts. So if you are quite happy to be able to, hold your own for a period of time. If your podcast is 15 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or even an hour, then you are the only person, and you've got to fill that time up with good, valuable content that your audience is going to want to listen to. Monologue style would be perfect for you. The next style, which you'll also see, I do a lot of on the Unlock show. So every Wednesday I do an interview style show. And for the interview format, well, it usually has 2 or more people, and with you as the host, and you're the person who is going to be posing questions and prompts for discussion with your guest. And your guest is you want them to be a subject matter expert with the topic that you are talking about. And like I said, I often use this style on the Unlock show. Personally, I find it really interesting to do those because it gives me, a whole lot of exposure to different people. I get to build my networks. You're hearing a different point of view and you're learning along the way. So there's a lot of benefits in having other people, be hosted on your show from that perspective. And secondly, it gives your audience the opportunity to be exposed to different points of view and for them to get value from other people. So I absolutely love the interview style. And again, if you're someone who maybe doesn't feel confident enough to be able to fill up the entire show by you speaking in the monologue fashion, then you being able to ask other people questions, also enables you to, to fill the show, and you're not the only person having to talk. The other great thing I love about that is sometimes it can give you a little bit of a breather. So when you watch the Unlock show, and I want you to, when you are watching, watch really carefully, because there's some certain things that I do throughout the show that you'll hear me talking about today. So if I'm interviewing somebody and I actually want to gather my thoughts, or I'm wanting to give them some time in the spotlight, or I'm wanting to load up what my next question is, I'll often put them on the spotlight view. So it's just them on the screen. That gives me an opportunity to kind of look away, upload, read maybe some of my questions that I've got or the things that I've prepared. And then I can come back on in a double view on the screen and off I go again. So it's a great way to be able to provide yourself with a little bit of breathing space and allow that person to have the spotlight for a few moments. Okay, the next style, or the next format style, is what we call the narrative. Now, the narrative format often combines both an interview style and monologue formats, and the host tends to kind of weave a story, sometimes over a series of episodes. And you will often see this, you might hear this referred to as a series, and it's focused usually on one topic. But kind of rather than talking about the entire topic or covering that entire topic in one foul swoop in one really long episode, what the host will tend to do is break that down into smaller chunks or just smaller episodes, and they'll actually take their viewer and their listeners on a journey. And they often will have cliffhangers, join me in the next episode and I'm going to be taking you through blah, blah, blah. So they'll kind of lead you in and then create a cliffhanger or something that will say, I want to listen. I need to hear the rest of the story. I want to continue on with this, because you're already invested in the story, and therefore taking you on a journey over a series. So that's a fantastic way of being able to deliver something that maybe is a little bit meaty, but breaking it down into smaller chunks. Okay, the next one is multi-host. And you might see this, you'll see this happening often. And it's also a great way to be able to, grab your bestie, whether it's your best friend or it's your business partner or somebody else that you can bring on, and you can both be the hosts of that particular show. Multi-hosts are an awesome format if you want to discuss differing opinions. Like, I might have an opinion about something. Sometimes I'll have Vicky on the show and she might have a different opinion, and we can kind of, let's say, thrash it out, talk it out, provide our different points of view on a particular piece of subject matter. And that works really, really well. And also great for, those times where maybe you're feeling a little bit anxious about doing a show on your own, again, not feeling confident enough to fill the entire show yourself. You can bring that other person on, and it will help you to fill in or to avoid any of those awkward pauses, and it provides you with a bit of a safety net. So where you're wavering a little bit, well, your host, your co-host is going to kick in, and they will be able to pick up where you left off. So great way to be able to support one another, provide yourself with a bit of a safety net, and therefore you've got one another's back. So multi-host is a fantastic place to start. If you are starting out and you're a little bit frightened of going alone, going solo, grab one of your besties and just, thrash it out and have a bit of a conversation and provide your different points of view on a particular subject. The next is what I call round table. Now, you see this a lot, particularly on television, or maybe, a round table style podcast or show that comes to mind is Red Table Talk with Jada Pinkett Smith, who's, all over the news and internet at the moment with the stuff that's gone on in recent days with her husband and the Oscars. Anyway, that is a great style of show to be able to do. Again, similar to kind of the interview style, similar to multi-host, because on Red Table Talk, for example, they've got multiple hosts, but also often will have multiple guests on that show. So your job when you are conducting sort of a round table style conversation that you're doing as a live show or as a podcast, your job as the host is to listen really carefully and to guide the conversation and to keep it on track as people share their ideas. One of the downfalls of doing, doing a round table type show is that sometimes they can get a little bit off track. Sometimes people try to talk over one another. So, you want to be really confident and strong with with you being the host, so that you can keep that on track. And maybe even I'd recommend doing a bit of a conversation and a positioning conversation before you go into a red table style interview or show, just so that you can give everybody, I suppose, a bit of protocol and give them a bit of an idea as to how things are going. And a little bit of a tip. So as the host, you want to listen really carefully, and you're listening for pauses, because sometimes it's a little bit difficult to try and get a word in, or to try and pull a conversation back into line when somebody's talking 100 miles an hour and not giving you the opportunity to kind of jump in. So just listen really carefully, find your cue to jump in, and you might even say things like, oh, hey, just pause there for one moment, I want to explore that a little bit more. So there's some really nice ways of being able to interject without kind of cutting the person off, so to speak. Okay, and then we've got, number 6, which is the documentary style. Documentary styles, again, fantastic way of being able to share your information. A lot of the times when you're doing a documentary style, it will incorporate the narrative style, but it also incorporates behind the scenes. So it will incorporate a behind the scenes look at a particular topic or subject or, situation. And this format will often take you a little bit longer to produce, but it can be extremely engaging. Doing a documentary style in a live show might be a little bit more of a challenge, but it certainly still can be done. You just need to think hard about how you do it and do a lot of preparation work before you actually go live, so that you've maybe got some behind the scenes videos that you've pre-recorded that you can share during your live show. So those are 6 different ways that you can create your own live show or podcast. Now, do you have to do each of these individually? Do you have to just stick with, one train of thought? Do I just have to do the narrative style or just do a documentary style? No, you don't. You can mix it up. You can have, you might use one style one day and a different style another day. So you absolutely can do that. Or equally, you could do one particular style. You might just have a podcast show or a live show that only does the interview style. So again, totally up to you, or only does the round table style. So again, my intention here today is just to give you, 6 of the top live show and podcasting formats for you to consider, so that you can determine which one is right for you. And my intention is that I get a lot more of you to unlock that voice within, unlock your inner genius, and start talking about your expertise, your knowledge, your experience, and share that with others in a really engaging way through the use of video and podcasting. Now, needless to say, that you guys know, if you've been listening to the Unlock Show for some time, you've been tuning in, you'll know that my preferred method is actually video over podcast. Now, why do I say that? The reason I say that is because it gives me so many options. When I create a video, I've now got a video that I can utilize for ongoing promotion and sharing of my information. I can cut this video up usually I cut it up into at least 50 different pieces of content, at the end of every single episode. And I can also strip out the audio from this, and it becomes my podcast. It also becomes all the material on a lot of my social media channels. And it just saves me a bunch of time in content creation. So that is my preferred method. And if you would like to explore how do I actually create my own live show, then I would encourage you to head on over to, I'm going to put into the description section. There'll be a link there that says Freedom Seekers Way /LSLA, which is a live show accelerator program that both myself and Vicky Helm have created. And that's to help you get really confident in launching your own live show. It is absolutely free. You can join it today and just do it at your own pace. And it will get you to a point where you understand some of the intricacies of how to do this, some of the things you need to think about, and how to build up your confidence so that you are ready to start your own live show. So head on over to the link that I pop in at the bottom of today's show and make sure that you get it. In fact, I might even be able to put it on the screen. There we go. Here we go. Pop it up on the screen. So freedomseekersway.com. Let me spell that for you because it is a little bit different spelling. FreedomSeekersWay.com/LSLA, and that will give you instant access to that program that is absolutely free, and you can do it at your own pace. All right, so that being said, let me just recap for you guys the 6 different styles or different formats that you can use for either your live show or your podcast before we close this up and bring the show to a wrap. So the first is monologue, the second is the interview style, the narrative style, multi-host, roundtable, and documentary. So explore those. If you'd like to know more about it, I'll actually be creating a blog on it that will also have a quiz that you can determine, based on what Tracy said today, which one of these should I start with? And you can determine for yourself which one might be the best for you based on a set of questions that I ask you. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I'll also come back and pop that into the description section of today's show so that you can do it a little bit later. All right, guys, as I always say, go out there and live your life unlocked, because there is just no other way. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you guys back here for another episode of The Unlock Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 10 a.m. And if you are listening to this on the podcast, make sure that you subscribe and also hit the bell and the notifications, and subscribe on YouTube so that you never ever miss an episode. If you're wanting to really stand out in 2022, make sure you keep tuning in, because I'll have some amazing guests that will be sharing with you how to build your influence and your exposure in 2022, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. All right, guys, that being said, have a fantastic rest of your week, and I'll see you guys next week. All right, bye for now.